improve shop culture, we're going to drive profits, we're going to retain talent, and we're going to reduce costs. I want to just start by reminding you that we have a free monthly online gathering that we call a peer advisory group that's intended for shop leaders. Would love for you to be part of it, where we're going to create connections and come up with solutions for your shop, both through content that I'll share, but also through the interaction we have with each other as a community. I'd love for you to join us in that. But before we talk more about that, I want to talk about one of the greatest strengths that we need to own in manufacturing. Many of you are already aware of this, but I just want to name it. Manufacturing is strong in America, and it can't be done from home. This isn't a work-from-home industry. It requires a cohesive shop floor filled with healthy teams. And the current reality is many of our companies are trading employees with each other for 50-cent raises. But you hire someone with a 50-cent raise, you'll lose someone to a 50-cent raise. You win them with money, you'll lose them with money. And there's a critical gap that we have that's part of the problem here. The critical gap is this. We've got great C-suite, and we've got quality technicians, but that doesn't equal success. What happens is we have an ineffective middle leadership. And as a result, our shops underachieve their potential, and we end up losing our top talent in the process. What's the solution? I'll tell you this. The solution is, are you going to lead with a belt mentality or a suspender mentality? Stick around to learn more. Here's the truth. We have a critical flaw in how we staff in manufacturing. We have a blind spot in manufacturing that's costing us thousands, if not millions of dollars in turnover. And I call it the technical expert trap. We promote our best technicians to leadership, then expect them to magically become people leaders. We give them one tool, and the tool is control. And then we expect them to build a culture. But this leads to a problem. We wouldn't put an untrained operator on $1 million machine, but we put untrained leaders in charge of $1 million talent. If you look at your payroll of your company next to cost of goods, that's one of the biggest ticket items. And have we trained people to lead people? How many of you spent more on machine training last year than you did leadership training? You see, this has cultural implications. MIT did a study in 2021 about employee attrition. And what they realized is pay is the 16th issue on the list of why people leave. That's pretty crazy to think about. The number one reason, according to the MIT research, is toxic culture. In fact, it was 10.4 times more powerful than compensation for losing talent. Here's a critical question. Who is driving culture in your organization? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to figure it out. If you need some help, let's connect later. Let's process this. Let's figure out how you can move forward. If you do not have healthy leaders driving the culture, then your culture is likely a mess. Ultimately, we're setting our middle leaders up for failure by not equipping them with the right tools. And here's the expensive part of this equation. Toxic culture doesn't just cost us people, it costs us our best people. Here's the truth we need to confront. Your highest performers have the most options. They're the first to recognize toxic culture and the first to leave. So here's what I want you to consider. I want you to consider the belt versus suspenders method of leadership that you might have in your organization. The pressure moment that your organization feels when there's a deadline looming, when you're behind, when a machine goes down, the pressure flows downward. Every leader faces moments of pressure. That's when their tools matter the most. In these moments, what options have you given your leaders? Here's the default option. It's what I call the belt mentality. All right? The belt mentality, when production is behind, you tighten it up. You cinch it up. You control. You tell them more. You demand more out of them. When attendance is poor, you crack down. What does this look like? We'll find someone else to replace you if you don't do it. If you don't want to do it, then leave. And we're a threatened-oriented culture. We've conditioned our leaders to believe pressure is their only tool. And pressure is a very poor tool. Cinching up the belt to hold things together is not a good option. Just like you tighten that belt to keep the pants up, you tighten that belt to hold your leadership together. It's a pretty cheap way of doing leadership, and that's what costs you your best talent. But our other option is suspenders leadership. Suspenders leadership, what happens with these? You put them over the shoulder, all right? And you hold it from the top down. You got the same pressures, but you have different responses. You see, support flows from above to the team. The mission and vision through your C-suite, through the managers and supervisors to the techs. That's how you hold this all together. It's not a control issue. It's a move towards something. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But here's the thing. If your organization isn't leading by example from the top down, if they're not inspiring people and motivating people by drawing out of them their best instead of threatening them and controlling them, your organization is missing a great opportunity. Here's the thing. Mission and vision hold everything up. We inspire people to the work instead of pressuring them into the work. That's suspender leadership mentality. Think about your best supervisors right now. When they face pressure tomorrow, which tool will they reach for? So what do we do with this information? I want to challenge you to expand your leadership toolkit. Invest in your people. Equip your leaders to recognize pressure moments. Empower them to and expect them to choose support over constraint. Building new leadership reflexes. Include your vision and mission in every memo so that your people are inspired by what your organization is committed to, and your leadership models that through support. Here's the thing. I want you to have some wins. What can you implement that can create some quick wins tomorrow? What are some things that you can deploy to change this control mentality to this inspiration mentality, this suspender mentality, from the top up, from your vision and mission? You're supporting your organization. I want you to think about developing a long-term culture transformation strategy. How are you going to invest in your leaders to shape and reshape how they think, moving them from technician mindset of just getting things done to people mindset of inspiring a team to collaborate together towards a goal? And then here's one critical thing about this. Put someone in charge of the process. If nobody's in charge, if it's just this ethereal, we're going to change, but nobody's driving the change, it's not going to take effect. The real question is not what type of leaders do you have, but how are you equipping your leaders to handle the pressure of leading people? Here's the opportunity. Transform pressure moments into growth opportunities. Build a culture that attracts and retains top talent. Consider this. Every pressure moment is a fork in the road. How many of those moments will happen in your facility today? The future can be different. Your leaders can be different, but only if we equip them differently. If there's anything I can do to support you, I just want you to know I'd be honored to do that. Let's set up a call. Let's connect sometime. I also want to invite you again to the free online manufacturing peer advisory group. It is a group that's just intended for leaders like you to help shape the culture of your organization. You can just go to circle5coaching.com/free and you'll be able to sign up for that group. And finally, I just want you to know that what I love to do is help create lightness for the people I invest in. After we interact, I hope that at the end of the day, you feel more hopeful and less discouraged. So if there's anything that I can do, let's connect. Let's make some things happen. Last thing I'll say, I've created a handout that you can you can have, if you go to the link underneath the description here, you'll be able to download that PDF file, and you'll be able to see some tips and some tricks and even examples of memos of what it looks like to lead with a belt mentality of leadership versus suspenders mentality of leadership. I think it'll be an encouragement for you. Thanks again for joining me. Like and subscribe to what we're doing. That helps draw more attention to this message. I'm so grateful for you. Let's keep growing together.